And I drew with my right hand. This connects the left and right sides of your brain. I drew with my hands crossed. I drew with both hands at the same time. And it didn't matter what I drew. Things started to come out. When I started to do all of this, my family began to pressure me. Why are you doing this? There's nothing that happened to you. Why? You just need attention. You just want attention. So they started pressuring me because that's the programming. This is a family unit. You're breaking it up. And they're told, Arizona here is breaking up your unit. You're all going to never be the same again. It's going to be a lot of pain. So they start pressuring you. All of those parts that they have start to pressure because they don't want to hurt. They know that there is pain. They don't know why they know that. They just know. I had no support from my family because they couldn't support me. I had no friends. Families like this, they're very apart from others. They're very isolative. So what I did is I went into therapy. Memories are layered. The first thing that comes out is your sexual abuse by a family member, friend, relative. That's what comes out. That's the way it's supposed to come out. You're supposed to be horrified and go, thank God, this is what it is. This is what it was the whole time. In my case, and there are others that go on after this, that isn't enough. It's still not right. And because I drew, and this is what I believe, because I drew pictures, and because those parts of me that couldn't say it could draw it, other things started coming out. I drew pictures of rituals, and I thought I was crazy. Because I didn't know where it was coming from. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen it on television. I'd never read about anything like it. But that's when I started trying to find some books on the subject, and they had just started coming out. My family accused me of getting it from the books, even though it was there before I ever saw the books. What came on the end of that were the memories about being around beings at military bases. Being around military, being around intelligence. At the time, I couldn't figure out how it was all connected. It seemed to be very separate things. And I was myself very disconnected. All of those parts that I had were disconnected. And I really didn't want to talk about reptilians to the therapist or the psychiatrist because I did not want to be accused of being psychotic. Yet there they were in the rituals. I talked with other people that were having those memories also. They didn't want to talk about it either. But then some of them just figured it was drugs that they were given. Some of them figured they were being fooled with something dressed up in costumes. I had to go through all my years with trying to look at that, to be honest with myself. And I came to the conclusion it wasn't drugs, and it wasn't costumes, and it wasn't holographic images. And I was not crazy. When I started going through all of this recovery, They stepped up, that is my little watchdogs, stepped up their process of harassing me and picking me up and trying to get me back in line. Anyone here that is a survivor of this knows what I'm talking about, because you get harassed. The phone calls that come in the middle of the night, the knocks on the door, if you live in apartments, the banging on the walls, the banging on the pipes, spraying insecticide in the house, which they did, DDT, in my apartment. And that was verified. Samples were taken to a lab. Being picked up and given drugs. Being beat up a few times. And I have photographs of what was done. The bruises took a year to go away. Being electroshocked. That was a favorite thing. Especially stepped up in the last... In 1998, they got me the worst. They got me so that I was having seizures. My therapist discovered it because she does a type of EEG biofeedback. She found it, and that I was having many small seizures. And she also had discovered a few years before that I was walking around in a delta state. I was wide awake, walking around delta state. What I know about that is that is the off switch for someone who is being used for psychic purposes by the government. They want you in a delta state. You're effectively off, and you're not utilizing the psychic channels. You're safe that way. There were so many times, in those years I was on Social Security disability because I couldn't work. I became so disabled that I couldn't work, and therapy was my only thought, my only hope, because all I knew was that I could go in and talk about all of this. And I had therapists that were willing to work with me. I didn't have any money. I had no source of support other than Social Security disability. My main concern was therapy and keeping a roof over my head, because I moved 11 times because I didn't have much choice in a living situation. There are many out there that are in this position. It's extremely hard because you don't have any support. And you have all of this harassment. Even now, people don't even have the option of therapy like I had it. There are many therapists that don't do this anymore because they're harassed for working with survivors. They're being very much harassed and watched. I will also say at this point that there are therapists out there that are themselves programmed, and part of it, and they don't know it. And it's a very sticky situation. I would estimate there's probably around 10 million people in this country that are programmed. And they don't know it. Many don't know it. And they're being used. Their mind is not their own. They are not single-minded. They don't have the ability. I was picked up many times and hurt so badly that I was sick in bed. I couldn't move.